You've been lied to by medicine. I was recently invited to speak at the low carb conference. Okay. There was a bunch of doctors in the room. And what was amazing was that all the doctors in the room practiced a completely different type of medicine. They practiced the philosophy that food is the best medicine. Using drugs were not their mode of treatment. And I really think that's going to be the way of the future. But unfortunately, the great majority of doctors use drugs to heal people. And today we're going to dissect this and talk about quite a few lies that you probably have been told by your doc. And the problem is not even doctors, it's the system behind doctors. If you were just to ask someone in the medical profession, what creates health? What would they say? Does a drug actually create health, or does it numb or alter a symptom? And unfortunately, our current healthcare system is highly influenced by big pharma and big food, aka the junk food industry. Another problem with the medical profession is it's over specialized. We have a bunch of specialists that are not necessarily connecting the dots and looking at the whole body. Doctors just focusing on the ears, nose, and throat. Other doctors just focus on the digestive system or the endocrine system or the brain. I think that's a problem, because it kind of keeps everything separated. And very unfortunately, the training in nutrition and food therapy is virtually absent in medical school. They get, I think, 12 to 20 hours. Well, here's one of their biochemistry textbooks, this one right here. And what's missing in this book are the key cofactors, aka nutrients, that are involved in biochemistry. Nutrition is not emphasized in biochemistry. Doctors do not look into this diet, this food angle. Yet many doctors have opinions on nutrition, which is not very favorable. So let's dive into the 9 lies that your doctor told you. Number 1, you don't need a gallbladder. So if you're missing it, it's not a big deal. Well, first of all, the gallbladder is a sac that is underneath your right rib cage. It's a storage place for something called bile salts. And bile salts are a detergent that helps you extract certain fats from your digestive system. So without a gallbladder, you're not going to be able to concentrate this bile. So if you don't have a gallbladder, bile salts after a meal would be a good idea. Number 2, statins have minimal side effects. That is completely not true. They have major side effects, not just a little problem with muscles, but a major problem with muscles. Your risk for type 2 diabetes goes up, and you're at risk for liver damage. Some doctors even recommend statins for everyone over the age of 40 and 50, whether you have a problem with cholesterol or not. That is insane, because without cholesterol, a lot of problems can occur. Cholesterol is a necessary thing that your body makes and needs for several things. Number 1, it's needed to make a lot of different hormones, including testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, the stress hormone called cortisol. It's needed to make the cell membranes, and you have a lot of cell membranes. In fact, the surface area of membrane that surrounds your cells is roughly, and I'm not kidding, the size of 90 acres. So instead of trying to block the production of cholesterol, let's actually get rid of certain things that are causing high levels of cholesterol. Another lie that people are told is that hypertension is really too much salt in the diet. Is it really the salt? Some people that take salt before bed sleep better because it lowers cortisol. We don't want to start lowering salt below the threshold. Instead, we want to take the opposing mineral, which is potassium, and increase that. That allows a person to tolerate more sodium. Salt-sensitive people are no longer salt-sensitive when they have more potassium. Potassium is great for blood pressure because it helps soften the arteries. It helps calm this tightness down. All right, the next one. The doctor says your vitamin D is low. We're going to give you 600 to 800 IUs, right? Which is a ridiculous number. It's so small, it's not going to even create a dent into your levels. So then you go back to the doctor because you probably found one of my videos that said you should take a minimum of 10,000 IUs every day as a maintenance dosage. And they tell you, oh my gosh, that's toxic. That's a lie. If you're out for 40 minutes in summer, you'll get 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3. Have you ever heard being out in the sun for 20 minutes will give you some toxicity with vitamin D?
No, you don't, because vitamin D from the sun is the most natural way to get all the benefits.
What you have to know is the international units are not a measurement of weight or size. They're based on a group of people deciding that's what it should be. 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 is not that much. If I'm not mistaken, it's less than a quarter of 1 milligram of vitamin D3. Now, this next one is actually kind of comical. You've probably been told by your doctor that you need to give up red meat because red meat causes colon cancer, causes heart disease, right? Really, is that actually true? The answer is no. In fact, out of all of the foods that you can eat that can help heal you, grass-fed red meat is at the top of the list. Why? Because it provides the most quality protein that your body needs, number one. It has virtually all of the B vitamins, zinc, selenium, copper, iron, all in the form that's easily absorbed. It also has another thing called creatine, which gives you energy and it helps your muscles. It has L-carnitine, which helps deliver fats into the mitochondria for energy. It helps you burn fat. It even has something called coenzyme Q10, and it's one of the best sources of glutamine for any type of gut inflammation. But of course, the conventional healthcare industry says that red meat is bad and you should avoid it. They kind of lump it in with processed meat, saying it's all the same. Next one is that you have to avoid saturated fats. Well, they blame the saturated fat when in fact they should be blaming the unsaturated fat, the seed oils, which make up 30% of our diet. Saturated fat by itself is not the culprit. If you take a look at all the junk food out there, there's not a lot of saturated fat in junk food. I'm talking about the breads, pasta, cereal, crackers, biscuits, waffles, pancakes. Very inflammatory. This next one is interesting. They're mostly going to tell you to lose weight because the weight's the cause. No. Weight is a symptom. Your high cholesterol is a symptom. You see, if you actually put weight as the cause of your problem, then you're going to be susceptible to taking certain measures that might not be healthy to lose weight, like Ozempic or some other medication. My question is, what is really at the root of your weight problem? It's kind of circular because they'll say that your weight problem causes your high blood pressure, and they might put you in this boat where you have metabolic syndrome. So you have all these different syndromes. They're all associated with each other, but no one's really talking about the root cause. The root cause is really something called insulin resistance, where the body's pumping out a lot of insulin, and that insulin is making you fat. It's making the arteries constrict, causing blood pressure to go up. And that's caused by eating too many refined carbs and sugars and seed oils. So my philosophy is always, it's not lose weight to get healthy. It's get healthy first to lose the weight. So focus on the health. The next one relates to maybe a recommendation you might get from a dietitian. And this would be, you need to be more plant-based, right? Because plant-based is cleaner. If you take a look at some of the ingredients on these plant-based artificial fake meats, it's all ultra-processed food ingredients. We're talking about soy protein isolates. We're talking about hidden maltodextrin. It's not really healthy. Grass-fed organic, free-range, pasture-raised eggs, much healthier. And this next one is really fascinating because they'll say that hypoglycemia is a complication of diabetes. And so we have to manage it because it's one of the dangers of having diabetes is to have hypoglycemia. Well, what is hypoglycemia? Low blood sugar. What is diabetes? High blood sugar. So if diabetes is high blood sugar, shouldn't we lower the glucose and sugar and the carbohydrates? Wouldn't that be the best thing to do? Well, guess what? doctors don't really tell you to do that. Instead, they tell you to keep some glucose pills in your pocket or candy in case your blood sugars go too low, because the medication you're taking is lowering your blood glucose. We don't want it to go too low. That's completely illogical. Why doesn't the doctor just tell you to lower the medication and take less candy? Because it's the carbohydrates that spike the insulin that drops the blood glucose. So anyone who has hypoglycemia or low blood sugar really has too much insulin. And thus the problem with the medical industry. There hasn't been any deep dive and evaluation into nutrients and what they do and how they can benefit someone. But what I will say is I have done a deep dive on many different aspects of nutrition. If you want more information on that, you should check out this video right here.